Hi, welcome to Chapter 10 in Foundations of Business. This one's on employee motivation. Okay, the learning objectives for Chapter 10 include define motivation and identify the classical motivation theories, explain why many consider expectancy theory to be the best current explanation of employee motivation, identify the strengths and weaknesses of goal setting theory, describe job characteristics, model, and explain how it helps predict motivation and performance, define reinforcement theory and differentiate between positive and negative reinforcement, list 5 managerial strategies that are vital to maintaining and motivating workforce, and discuss potential strengths and weaknesses of performance management systems. Okay, so motivation is the combination of forces that move individuals to take certain actions and avoid other actions. But it doesn't include the key part of motivation, which is motivation is internal, not external. In other words, just like you can't make somebody happy, you also cannot motivate them. You can give them an environment, which is the forces that they're talking about, where if they have motivation, they'll want to then engage and do it. Or you could do the opposite and create an environment where even if the person was motivated, they wouldn't want to do it because of the environment. But the actual motivation itself is within people or not within them. It's up to the individual. Which goes back to the hiring. If you don't hire individuals that have motivation, you'll never be able to instill motivation within them. You can kill it. You can hire people with motivation and then create an environment that is so unmotivating that even motivated people say, well, we're just going to do the minimum and then go home. Or you could do the opposite. Engagement, employee rational and emotional commitment to his or her work. So here's a little model. 4 indicators of motivation: engaged, satisfied, committed, and rooted. Okay. So, the drive to acquire, the drive to bond, the drive to comprehend, the drive to defend are 4 fundamental needs. So, the classical theories of motivation, you have scientific management. Scientific management's approach is designed to improve employees' efficiency by scientifically studying their work. Okay. So if you look at Frederick Taylor, he's the father of scientific management. Okay? He would go back 100 plus years ago, he would take a stopwatch and go and watch people. And then he would study movements and see a better way of doing it. Masonry, laying bricks right now, they're a professional bricklayer, professional mason, will lay brick the way Frederick Taylor designed it over 100 years ago, because no one's created a more efficient way of laying bricks than what he did back then. So if the person is really good at what they do, really good at masonry, they will have learned Frederick Taylor's method and be practicing it today. Now the Hawthorne study is a little bit different. The Hawthorne study supposed the effect of organizational research in which employees change their behavior because they are being studied and given special treatment. So this was different than scientific management. Scientific management said it doesn't matter if someone's watching you. What matters is the environment and the steps that you take to complete the work. And so that's what they were trying to do with the Hawthorne effect. That actual study was to actually create a scientific method to maximize productivity in this factory. However, everything they tried, from lowering the temperature to raising the temperature to lowering the light to raising the light, they had it all the way down to candlelight. And everything that they did just increased productivity. And the reason for it, they concluded then, after years, this took years to do this, was that because the ladies, they were all women in the factory, were given special treatment and were being observed by these Harvard professors, that they kept increasing their productivity in order to impress them, basically. And, and so it was started a new type of thought process, a new motivation study, motivation theory, that said that people are not like machines. They have an emotional content that if you tap into the emotional content along with a good methodology of how to do the job, then you'll increase productivity or maximize productivity. Okay, so let's look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so Maslow said, and this is the old one, there's a new one out that has more needs than that, but this is the classical one. Maslow said that the first need is physiological needs. People have to have oxygen, otherwise they don't care about anything else. Once they have oxygen, then they need water, drinkable water. So that once they have oxygen and drinkable water, then they need food. Once they have oxygen, drinkable water, and food, then they need shelter, and so on and so forth. They just kept on going down the line of in list of importance. Now we replaced a lot of things with money to buy them. So that way the employer doesn't have to actually go out and find drinkable water and food and shelter. They provide their employees with a paycheck, and then that paycheck can be used to purchase those things. Okay? So once the physiological needs are met, then you move on to the safety needs. Okay? So the safety needs: health insurance, pension plan, a safe work environment, those types of things. Okay? Once both of these are met, then you go on to social needs. Okay? So now all of a sudden we're not worried about survival. We want to actually be happy. Okay? And social needs include friends, family, uh, all the things that people like to do with other people. Okay? And once those needs are met, then you go on to esteem needs, which is job title, recognition. Could be a parking spot with your name on it. Could be the corner office. Could be an office on the top floor or closer to the top floor, and so on. So those are all esteem needs. And then you move on to self-actualization needs, and that is the leadership role. And self-actualization needs are people that are looking at the big picture and they want to accomplish something that helps uh, in the whole. In other words, it helps the population, it helps the generation, it helps on a big picture, not just doing tasks to get them finished, or not just collecting a paycheck, or not just going out and spending all your money on fun times. They're actually saying, why am I doing this? What good is it going to do to society? And that could be just your town or your community. Um, it could be your social activities. Whether it's a club, or you're trying to help a humane society, or if you're helping orphans or food banks or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be on a global scale or even a national scale. It can be very small. But if you're doing it because you're trying to benefit society, even if it's your corner of the world society, that's self-actualization. And that's what you'd be focused on. You're going to ask, how is this going to help people? Or how is this going to help in the big picture, and not, I just need to get this done so I get a paycheck. Matt, yeah, we know that. Theory X management. So when someone says if you like getting a paycheck, then you'll do what you're told and not complain about it or ask questions. That's theory X. Okay, so if theory X management works in several different situations. It works when you have a very high unemployment rate, like we do now. Officially, I think it's like 10 point something percent. Unofficially, if you actually count the 26 plus million people that are laid off, we're well over 20% of what people unemployed in the United States. So if you have high unemployment, Theory X works because people can't get another job or have a fear that they can't get another job very easily. That's as good or better than the one they have. So they will just do what they're told and not say anything because they like getting a paycheck. It also works on very low-skilled jobs where it's easy to replace the person. So if you don't work hard enough, we'll just get rid of you and replace you with somebody else. That type of attitude. Okay? From a management standpoint, people that are Theory X believe that workers are lazy, they don't want to work, and you basically have to push them as hard as you can to get any productivity out of them. Theory Y management is just the opposite. Okay? Theory Y management assumes that employees enjoy their work, enjoy meaning in their work, and that they're naturally committed to the goals and are capable of creativity and seeking out responsibility under the rights and conditions. In other words, you give them a goal or you create the goal together, and then you give them the tools that they need or the resources that they need to accomplish the goal, and then you leave them alone and just say, if you have questions, problems, if you need help, let me know. Otherwise, your goal has to be accomplished by this date, and we'll meet periodically to see how you're progressing to meet that goal. And you leave them alone, and then they do the work. If that's the way, if that's how it's set up, if it's set up properly. Excuse me. Hertzberg two-factor theory says that there's motivators and there's hygiene factors. Okay, a hygiene factor is something I always think of teeth when I think of hygiene. Right, you brush your teeth. So the only time you ever think of your teeth is when you brush them. Right, floss them, brush them. Usually that's twice a day. I hope so anyway. Maybe 3 times. Okay, but if you have a toothache, then all you're thinking about is your teeth because it hurts. Okay, as soon as that tooth is fixed, you don't think about your teeth anymore when the pain's gone, right? So that's why they're dissatisfiers. So if it's really hot, that's a dissatisfier, and you're thinking about the temperature. If the temperature's just right, you're not thinking about it because it's fine. They are not motivators. You're not motivated because the temperature is 75 degrees. You're not motivated because your teeth don't hurt. Okay? You're only motivated when it's hot, it's cold, your teeth hurt, something's wrong. Then you're motivated to get it fixed. But that's it. As soon as it's fixed, you forget about it. Now, motivators, on the other hand, are things that truly drive you to get things done. So if you really want to go on a trip and the goal is to sell $10,000 worth of your product by the end of the week to go on this trip, then you're motivated to do that because you want to go on the trip. Okay? But an employer has to know that if all they do is address dissatisfiers but don't do anything as far as hot motivators, people aren't going to be motivated to work. Okay? And then it goes into more detail there. And last thing that we have time to go over is McClellan's 3 needs theory. McClellan models of motivation highlights the need for power, affiliation, and achievement. And he said those 3 things are what motivate people to accomplish their goals. Okay? And that's it for chapter 10. Hope you have a great day.